I'm
I
glad you
like
were
it.
able to pull off the interstate long enough to talk to us. It would have been dangerous to have you on the road.
Yes.
I'm
The
actually
interstate
parked
of
right
life.
outside the hockey rink because I had to drop my daughter off for her hockey practice. So, the life of a
Okay.
hockey mom.
Classic hockey mom.
We understand. We
All right.
understand the sports.
Let's get right into it. Monica, I want to get the tough question out of the way early. Should Michelle and I buy a rowing machine?
Yes.
Ooh,
See,
I
I
like
told
that.
you.
Decisive.
Yeah, thanks. I've been wanting one for a while, and I just needed that. So yeah,
No question.
obviously when
I'll,
obviously
I'll
when
write
people
your I'll write the first 3 months of your workouts.
oh my goodness,
All
that
right.
sounds perfect.
I appreciate that.
I mean, when people think of Montana, they think hotbed for pro rowing talent.
Right.
So what led you to pursue rowing as a sport?
Well, so I grew up in eastern Montana, and I learned to swim in Miles City in the Yellowstone River. And I really hadn't been around water at all, but I was outside all the time, and I just absolutely loved and am deeply formed by the natural world. So we used to go skating in the winter. We grew up ice skating outside, sledding under the northern lights, and it's just magical. If you've ever been really away from all of the ambient light of the city, out in the country, you know how magical that landscape can be. And so that's really, what formed who I am and my deep love for the natural world. So when I got to Gonzaga University as a freshman, I was walking across the campus and there was a rowing shell, and they said, "Do you want to try this?" And I said, "Sure." And from the first stroke, I was in love. I was totally hooked on it. And it's really, if you've been in a canoe or a kayak or any kind of small boat on the water, it's a very visceral, tactile experience. You can feel the water, and you can go places that are quiet. I mean, I was rowing up at Salmon Lake this fall, and it's so peaceful that all of the trees are turning yellow, and it's just incredible. It's stunning. And so I think it was a very natural draw for me. And it's also like you do the same thing over and over again. And I always tell people I'm an endorphin junkie, not an adrenaline junkie. You never really go very fast in rowing. You're never out of control, and you have to work really hard for your endorphins. And so that was all a part of it. But another part of it to me was the incredible sense of being in a team boat. If you've ever been in a fast eight, it's magical. I mean, Boys in the Boat is coming out Christmas Day. I recommend everybody watch it. It's just the absolute sense of teamwork. It's really a true team boat, team experience. I can't explain how much it feels. You're always lifted up by your teammates, and you want to exceed what you're capable of doing for your team. It's a powerful motivator.
That's awesome. You mentioned growing up in Montana. You grew up in basically every part of Montana. Do you think that's going to help you represent the diverse interests and needs of Montanans when you go to Congress? Oh, no.
I,
Something like that.
yeah, I mean, I think really having walked all of the different sectors of this incredible state, we used to have this sort of long-standing joke in my team that I could find anywhere without a GPS. I'd say, "Where are we going today?" And we jump in, and I'd say, "Don't tell me, don't put the GPS. I can find it."
I got it
And
memorized.
well, usually I can, right? Like it's sort of fun, but I think I know the classy basketball. I've played classy basketball, and I know the gyms where the over and back line and the half court line, they overlap because the gym isn't a full court gym. And but I also really appreciate the growth and the community spirit of Missoula and Bozeman and Kalispell and Whitefish and Hamilton. I mean, all of these towns that,
You got to name every city. Keep going.
Okay. Great Falls, Billings, Small City, Glasgow, Glendive, Wolf
It's so
Point,
big. There's so many
Kilby.
different types of people. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think at heart, what you find in Montana people is really the same. And what has drawn people, I mean, we do have this huge growth in population. And to people who've moved here, I say, welcome. Please get snow tires and learn to drive in the snow because I find that annoying. But I think Montana is big enough and big hearted enough to share. And I say, welcome, but don't bring the stuff that you left behind here. You know, embrace what you're coming to with
Yeah.
open arms and understand that our communities are very much about privacy and freedom. And what I hear is, leave me alone. I don't care what you
Yeah.
do. Leave me alone. And
Yeah.
Yes.
so,
That's what I want my doormat to say. But yes, no, that's a very Montana thing. Speaking of leave me alone, a lot of people have moved here and Montana has gotten a lot more expensive. Is there something we can do to address the affordability with housing, healthcare, education, like all of the things that we, I guess, took for granted over the years,
yeah.
but that have become a little bit more expensive? Sorry,
Yeah,
my dog's jumping up on me.
that's all right. You guys can just both leave.
My
No,
my
I'll sit here.
child ran in the house. He was supposed to be on a play date, and then the dog. Anyway, it's fine. There, a
Oh, I
circus will
know.
come in behind me.
I'm here. Look, I'm in my minivan, so we
Let's
got
all
a good.
just do our very best.
Yeah, we got a good vibe going. My computer's rolling all over the place. So, yeah. So I think that the tension and the dynamic that we need to explore and work together as leaders and as a communities is, the resources that are moving and that are coming into Montana, the growth and the investment. Much of that's really good for Montana. I mean, we want our young people to be able to stay here. When I was growing up here, a lot of people, in order to get really great jobs, had to leave Montana. And so I think
Yeah,
to the extent that we're bringing tech industry here, that we're bringing investment here, that we're bringing good paying jobs with local businesses, small businesses. I mean, I've had my own business my entire career. I'm a lawyer. I've had my own practice, and I've made that work in Montana for my entire career. So I want those kinds of investments for Montana. That can be good. But I think we also have to understand that those pressure points that are really being placed on our communities, where people want to move in and buy a house, and a lot of people are really being squeezed out. And so I think what we see that's not working, our teacher pay is the lowest in the country. And a starting teacher salary in Sealy Lake is $33,000. And last summer there were 4 houses for sale there, all of them over $700,000. So
Oh,
that math doesn't work, right? And that's true in Bozeman. That's true in Drummond. That's true across the district. So it's true across Montana. So we have to fund that gap. We have to figure out a way to balance that ledger on both sides. We have to pay our law enforcement, our teachers, the people who are the backbone of our community. We have to grow and invest in our middle class and make it possible for people to be able to live in an economy where things are costing more. And so on the other side of it, we have to figure out a way to address the supply issues that are driving a lot of that demand and that growth. And a lot of that's happening. There are good things happening across the district. I've met with folks in Flathead County and Missoula and Gallatin. There are a lot of things going on. There is growth. There are buildings going up. There are multifamily buildings happening. And so we're addressing the supply side of it as well. That doesn't happen overnight. And look, we didn't get into this overnight. This was a problem that was
yeah.
40 years in the making before COVID hit. Then we
Oh
were one of the
yeah.
fastest growing areas during COVID. So it was just, it was the straw that broke the camel's back, really.
yeah. Certainly accelerated the problem. And real estate's one thing, property taxes are another. I know Montana's having issues with that right now. What's your plan? How would you reform our property tax system, make it more equitable for folks?
Yeah, I mean, look, what happened this year is you had a super majority, the largest majority ever in the history of our state legislature of Republicans, they had the largest surplus, $2.9 billion surplus. So supermajority, super lots of money. And what do they give us? Uh, an increase in our property taxes and 12-year-olds having to pay to go fishing. And so, if you don't like that, if you don't like high prices, if you don't like the rising costs, if you don't like increased property taxes, if you don't like your utility rates going up, the 5-member commission at the PSC, all Republicans, and they have been for over 10 years. Look who's hitting you on the head. I mean, at some point, you have to ask yourselves who's hitting you on the head and make them stop. And the way to do that is to vote differently. So, these people are not serving our interests. So, how do we address what are the answers? How do we get stuff done? I mean, bringing money in, balancing the budget, living within our means, those are all important values that we have to pursue. So, cutting taxes for the very, very wealthiest, for the largest, corporate incomes. This settlement that happened at the Public Service Commission that increased our residential rates 28%. Walmart, the federal government, the biggest refinery in the state, they're paying nothing in terms of their increases. Very, very minimal increases. We've got to get away from this, like letting the wealthiest and the biggest corporations not pay their fair share. And that is really what the Republican Party and people like Ryan Zinke have become. They are purchased by the interest of the largest corporations. They will subjugate democracy to money, and I'm tired of it. That's why I'm running for office. So
Yeah.
vote for me.
You make
I
a strong
shall.
case.
I shall. Speaking of voting for you, women's rights are near and dear to my heart, and it is no secret that the right to choose in Montana is under threat for women,
All the
LGBTQ
letters.
plus people, and Native Americans. Do
Yeah.
you see a solution?
I mean, it kind of goes back to talking about how I grew up and the things that people moved to Montana for, right? That right to be left alone. That's a really, really powerful freedom. The freedom to be left alone, the freedom to live life on your own terms. That sense of privacy, I don't care if you eat a vegan burger or, a ground beef that, you bought at the supermarket or something that raised on your own ranch. You do that, you do whatever you want, you eat what you want on Friday night at the end of your work week, but
Right.
let's leave each other alone. I don't want the government in my bedroom. I don't think it should be in yours. And the
Oh,
other piece of that, Michelle, that I think is really disturbing, that I don't know that people are actually seeing, and I'm hearing about it on my listening tour. I talked to the CEO of a rural hospital, but some of the impacts of this are that we're seeing doctors leave rural areas because they don't want the liability associated with caring for women who are, going through a reproductive crisis, or, they need to make decisions for their own, to save their own lives. And so we're seeing the real consequences hit our rural communities. And then people have to go 200 miles to get a prescription to get birth control, which,
right.
by the way, you don't need a prescription for other kinds of things that you can just get over the counter. There are
Yeah.
easy solutions to some of this stuff. And I think we just have to get our freaking noses out of other people's business and their bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the whole "Don't tread on me." I love it when I see people driving around with those license plates that say
Yeah.
"Don't tread on me," but they're anti-choice and anti all of the other stuff. It's like, no, don't tread on me either. Um,
Yeah.
like
Stay
I'm
in
also
your,
part of the
stay in
"Don't
your
tread."
lane, buddy. I'll stay in mine.
Exactly. Well, thank you for that.
Let's talk about very quickly the recent Northwestern energy rate hike that was approved by the Public Service Commission. Are we looking at the new normal here?
I hope
Solar.
not. It does not have to be it does not have to be this way. So that was a 28% rate increase, unprecedented rate hike. And they didn't have to do it. They did not have to accept that settlement. I filed a motion for reconsideration. I'm actively litigating on behalf of the people of Montana. My client in that case is trying to fight that back. They didn't have to accept that settlement. So we filed what's called a motion for reconsideration. that's pending before the commission right now. We're asking the commission to take a second look and to maybe think about whether or not is it really a cost of service to give management these incredible bonuses when they've been missing their targets for years and years, and they admitted that. So we're paying for them to advertise. When you drive around Montana and you see those 60% renewable energy, you see those billboards and those ads.
Yeah.
We're paying for that. We're paying for a
Perfect.
monopoly to advertise its services to us. And when I asked them under oath, why does Monopoly advertise? They said, well, we think management is misunderstood and we want to feel better about our company. People see us as a dirty company and we want to feel better. Essentially, that's what they
With
said.
the little PR, and we're pocketing that.
We're paying for it. And we should. And these 5 Republican commissioners said, yeah, that's a good idea to make Montanans pay for that. People who are struggling to get by every month, we have to pay for that. I don't think that's right. So I'm challenging it. I have been challenging it, and I tend to, take this as far as we can on behalf of the people of Montana, because we shouldn't have to, we shouldn't have to be held hostage to that kind of corporate greed.
That's awesome.
Not at all.
We'll keep an eye on that.
I know.
As it develops.
Well, you have got so many things that you're challenging right now. I feel weird even asking you if you have any other major goals or projects that you hope to accomplish if you're elected.
Well, I think there are a lot of specific pieces of legislation that I could run down, but I think in the larger buckets of things that I would say, we've got to get money out of politics. We just have to. Montana has a proud, strong history of campaign finance reform, and that was an issue that we have taken on for 100 years, getting money out of politics. And it was the Citizens United case that forced us. We challenged that. Steve Bullock did. Thanks, Steve, for taking that on. But, money is really corrupting, and I think people just feel really disillusioned. But democracy is an amazing form of government. We have an incredible, incredible home and country, and I'm proud of it. When I competed in the Olympics, I was at the starting line and I looked up at the leaderboard. It said USA, and that was me. And I am so proud to be an American and to, have represented my country at the highest level of international competition. We can do better. We can be better. Let's be our best selves for a while. Let's try that and see how that works. We've done some great things. We can walk this back. So getting money out of politics, I think that's job number 1, and really having truly a representative democracy where folks like me who learn to swim and ride a bike in Miles City, Montana, can represent us in Congress.
Sounds pretty good. Coming from a hockey mom sitting in her car. In
the minivan.
In a minivan. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of time, Monica. We wish you the best of luck. This has been a great conversation.
I loved the podcast you did with the park ranger.
That guy's amazing.
Yeah, Rich
Yaley.
Yeah. Shout out to Rich Yaley. So we grew up going to Yellowstone National Park for vacations because we didn't have much money, and in Eastern Montana that was our jam. So when he was talking about Lamar Valley, and those are really special places for me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
He's got a cool job and he's a cool guy. So thank you. And you're cool as well.
We're lucky to have you.
Yeah, we are. No, we're extremely lucky to have you on. So
clearly
we'll let you get back to
my brothers, right?
You got a busy day. Well, we will leave it there. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.